Please welcome the Fantastic Four.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and let's talk about the Fantastic Four First Steps. Was the movie great, or does it continue the MCU's slow slide into mediocrity? And thanks to Better Wild for sponsoring this video. I got my thoughts on why this was one of the best MCU movies ever, and definitely one of the best comic book adaptations ever, but later in the movie, I'm going to tell you all the stuff that I didn't like, and what I really think about the Silver Surfer. And later on, I'm also going to talk to two friends, Patrik H. Willems and Matt Singer, but first, guys, we have a lot to celebrate here. It was so great to finally see the Fantastic Four on screen for the first time.
Yeah, but
On screen for the first time ever. This movie fully embraced the optimism of the Fantastic Four and the idea that they are a family first. Now, this is a dynamic that's unique to this team. The Avengers are more like work friends.
He's a friend from work.
The X-Men are a school, but the Fantastic Four will always belong together because they are a family. Now, other Fantastic Four movies have shied away from this concept. The Tim Story films tried too hard to feel like they were in our world, and the characters felt emotionally detached from each other. And the Josh Trank movie was basically a, what if the Fantastic Four were all egocentric glory hound assholes?
Say that again?
But Matt Shakman succeeded because, unlike those films, he did not run away from the comics. Instead, they went backwards and they embraced all of the sillier aspect of the Silver Age books. I actually think that the most important scene in the movie is their Sunday dinner because it establishes that they are not just a group of people with superpowers, they're a family who know and love each other. This one scene shows us the whole dynamic of the team. It actually reminded me of the Ultron after party scene in Age of Ultron. See, I feel like those Tim Story films took some aspects of the comics, but then ran a little bit too hard with them. Like Johnny Storm was too much of a cocky D-bag, and his pranks on Ben came off as just mean.
We need to be careful until we're normal again.
What if I don't want to be normal? I didn't turn into a monster.
But in this movie, Johnny's a sweet, soft-hearted guy, but he still likes to tease Ben. Maybe he didn't tease him enough, but I'll talk to Matt and Pat about that later. And also, the Tim Story films mostly showed the Thing as this gruff guy, but they never showed his softer side. Here, that soft side is on full display with the knowing smile that he gives Sue that he figures out she's pregnant, or how he messes around with the kids on Yancey Street. But what really impressed me about Reed is how they really locked into this guy's two main personality traits, obsession and compassion. Reed sees himself as his family. No, he sees himself as the world's protector, so he obsesses over their safety. And in this movie, that's manifested as him wanting to baby-proof the entire planet. So, when he has to place Franklin in danger, it's actually all of his worst fears come to life. But also, I love that he told everybody what Galactus actually wanted. That act of honesty showed how ethical Reed is. But the best portrayal, I think, in this movie was Susan Richards, a character that the movies haven't really known what to do with. The 1994 movie seemed like it was written in the 1960s, and the Tim Story films had her get naked and then use her powers to disappear pimples from her face. And Kate Mara's version was there. But Vanessa Kirby gives us a Susan that is intuitive, protective, and best of all, inspirational. She inspires the entire planet to stand up against Galactus, and she shows us why, without her, the team just would not work. But the best and worst parts of this movie, I think, were probably the Silver Surfer.
person, I don't know how you can spend all day talking about all this stupid stuff. And I'll tell you something else. I don't like Matchbox 20.
Whoa, this is not like you. Why are you so grumpy?
It's just stupid allergies. I'm so itchy. It hurts.
Doug, let me take a look. Oh, geez, you really did scratch yourself.
Yeah, and it really hurts. That's why I'm such a crab apple.
Well then, Doug, try this. It's an allergy supplement for dogs called Better Wild. Do you want one?
Yeah, I think I want to try one.
Here you go. Good boy.
So what was that?
Well, this is an allergy relief chew from Better Wild. They're the sponsor of this video. Guys, if your dog won't stop scratching, then you need these treats. Doug gets terrible seasonal allergies, and I used to spend a fortune on allergy meds. But Better Wild offers vet-approved natural solutions.
But wait, how does it work?
Well, you see, Doug, a dog's allergies flare up because of a bacteria in your gut called dysbiosis. Better Wild soft chews flush out that bad bacteria. Dog allergies are actually up 30% in the last decade, in part because modern living actually weakens your pet's gut. Pollen, dust, mold, human dander, all of that is unnatural and makes their little allergies way worse. But Better Wild targets the root cause of your pet's allergy. The probiotic supports long-term relief from itching and irritation. And this was inspired by, Doug, your ancestors, the wolves in the wild that have stronger, more balanced guts. So this supplement actually helps to rewild your gut with a natural allergy defense.
I am a wolf, the bloodline of the ancient Bahur.
Better Wild is the only allergy supplement that contains ancestral wolf probiotics, and it is clinically proven to reduce itchiness and redness in just 2 months with daily use. It also contains 3 other key ingredients: L-Sacchii for digestive health, colostrum, which is a super milk that reduces inflammation, and also salmon oil to give you omega-3s in a shiny coat.
Thank you. I feel so much better.
Guys, these ingredients are science-backed and veterinarian approved. So go to betterwild.com/ScreenCrushJuly for an exclusive offer when you use the code ScreenCrushJuly at checkout. Now, this deal only works through our unique link, and it is the biggest discount that they offer. Now, back to what I was saying. Now, I love how we got to see the Fantastic Four go into space. The scene where Sue gives birth in Zero G is inspired. It is an all-timer for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It takes all these weird cosmic events, but then ties them to a very human moment. A mother trying to bring life into the world. So much of the Multiverse saga has been about grief and death. It was nice to see a movie that was about creating and preserving life.
It's very refreshing.
And the Silver Surfer in this movie was so awesome. I mean, the Surfer is one of my favorite characters in the comics, and seeing her surf magma or fly through space, it is exactly what I pictured when I read the books. This is actually a Marvel spin-off movie that I would love to see, but we're going to talk about all those possibilities in future videos. Now, like I said, I don't think this movie was perfect, but it did get me wondering if maybe the Multiverse saga shouldn't go away so soon. It was refreshing to see a movie that was just a straight up adaptation from the comics where we didn't have to do any homework beforehand. I felt like this movie was kind of the anti-Brave New World and Thunderbolts, 2 teams that some of you might have felt like you needed cliff notes to watch. Maybe we could use more films that are disconnected from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I don't know. Give it a try.
All right, but I am joined here by, honestly, I can't believe I can get these 2 guys together, 2 of the smartest, most knowledgeable film people that I know. We have YouTuber Patrik H. Willems and filmmaker Patrik H. Willems. They're one and the same person. And also Matt Singer, author of one of my favorite books, Opposable Thumbs, the story of Siskel and Ebert, or how Siskel and Ebert changed movies forever. And Matt's also the editor-in-chief of ScreenCrush.com. You can read his review of the Fantastic Four First Steps up on our website right now. Patrik, I want to start with you because I got a really surprising text from you.
Yes.
Normally, we don't have you on to talk Marvel, but you sent me a text that said, I am surprised how much I like this movie, or to that extent. What did you think of the film?
Yeah, what I have been... The same thing I've been saying to everyone who's been asking me how it was is shockingly good. I went into this thinking best case scenario, this will be pretty fun. My bar for Marvel has been pretty low for quite a while, and just. I really love the Fantastic Four. These are some of my favorite characters in all of comics, and obviously, you know, been burned multiple times by their past big screen incarnations, and so I'm just like, please just give me like a passable movie, a movie that doesn't depress me. And then, not only was it passable, I was watching this and I was like, this is the most I have liked any Marvel movie in years, like years and years. It like this was not just like good for a Marvel movie. I thought this was actually good. So yeah, I came out of it very happy.
Matt, what was your, before I want to dive deeper into what Pat said, especially since Patrik basically put this same Fantastic Four plot on his channel a few years ago. But first, Matt, I want to get your like raw impression of the movie. What are your thoughts?
I wish I liked it that much. I did enjoy it, but a lot of the way Patrik described what he was like, his low expectations, what he hoped. Oh, I just hope it's better than these other movies. I hope it's just kind of passably entertaining. That was kind of where I wound up on it, and I can't even say like it's like the most I've enjoyed a Marvel movie even this year, because I would probably say that I like Thunderbolts a little better than this one. I didn't think it was bad. It is easily and quite self-evidently the best Fantastic Four movie. That's, that's almost absurd that would be the bar, because the other Fantastic Four movies they're just not that great. So, if this hadn't been the best Fantastic Four movie, that would have been disastrous. It's fun. It's well cast. It looks fabulous. I loved the sequence in outer space, all of the stuff with Galactus and the Silver Surfer. That was the part of the movie where I was starting to get in, kind of feeling the way Patrick was like, this is awesome. This is weird. It's fun. It looks great. It's got big ideas, has some fun twists. But I found myself a little underwhelmed with the Fantastic Four themselves. When they announced the cast, I thought it was a great cast. But I don't know. I just didn't feel like any of them really popped. And they make some small changes to kind of who these characters are and their origin that the more I thought about it after the fact, as I was like, what was it about this Fantastic Four that I didn't like fully get on board with? And I felt like some of it had to do with these little tweaks that kind of wound up making a big difference. Maybe it's a personal preference. Well, I love a Fantastic Four. And again, could be personal preference. This could be me telling on myself a little bit. But I love a Fantastic Four where they feel like they're at loggerheads, where they're just not getting along, where Johnny is throwing fireballs at Ben, and Ben is breaking equipment, and they're screaming at each other. And Sue and Reed, Sue is like, get your head out of your science equipment and talk to me. And he's like, later, honey, I'm very busy saving,
smoking a pipe and saving the world. Yeah,
exactly. I love when they are family, but they're kind of a dysfunctional family. And I don't know, in this movie, everybody's so nice. They have a couple of moments where they're kind of like a little disagreeable with one another, but they made it so that now they're all brilliant scientists. I think Reed says,
I didn't care for that. Yeah.
He says that they're the 4 most brilliant scientific minds in the world, and they do kind of feel like a little more like 4 very similar people, whereas I always loved the Fantastic Four being 4 very different people who are nonetheless kind of bound by this family relationship that they have. And yeah, some of the stuff in the beginning, it was just a little too like nice for me. So
I hear what you're saying, and I agree. I do think that contrast isn't there between the characters for sure. Pat, what do you think about Matt's statement there about the characters seeming too similar?
I mean, I get what Matt is saying, and I don't I didn't have that issue personally. Like the core personalities that I look for from each of these characters was still there. And also like really my main priorities going into this were just like, are the characters like will they get the 4 right, but then also the dynamics between them. And for me, there was enough of the brotherly like hazing between like Ben and Johnny where I'm like, good, I'm satisfied there. I don't need them actually like screaming at each other, especially like in the first movie. It's like I know we love the Fantastic Four because they are kind of a dysfunctional family, but I'm like, I felt enough like believable tensions there, and I wasn't like, but I wish they would like smash more stuff or like blow up the house more. Like, and there were those moments when like Sue gets like, gets mad at Reed because he is like, as he then explains, like, I have to like think of the worst possible scenarios. I know it sucks and you don't want to think about this, but this is what I do. I'm gonna jump to like the worst thing and then plan for it. And so to me, like it felt like, and I think one of the best choices they made was starting this several years into their career, and so it's like they're good at doing this, and they've probably like a lot of like what might have been the initial tensions between them in the early days of being super science adventurers may have been sort of like smoothed out, and also there's a lot going on in this movie and it moves really really fast. And so, which I could see, people saying is a problem, how fast it moves. And I don't know how, like, where I would have found time for like a lot more arguments between them. But no, for me, there was the personalities were there. There was, they did feel like enough believable interpersonal tensions. And I was pretty satisfied with it. I am curious about the whole, like, are they all super scientists thing? Because when when there's that initial line from Reed, I think it's in the kind of like film reel explaining their origin, where he says like the most brilliant people I know. Is that actually him saying we are the 4 best scientists on Earth, or is that him just kind of like being nice and like I love this group of people and I think they're the best?
Sure.
Because it like I feel like the like obviously Reed is the only one who's like writing formulas on a giant blackboard. Like the rest of them aren't really doing
Well,
that.
Johnny's an expert linguist.
Well,
I was gonna say like they gave Johnny that whole subplot.
The
with
Johnny
the
thing
languages.
is the one thing. But I was also I was looking at it, I was like, okay, he's also working on this for a while. Like a really like he's basically. Like I could buy, because also a lot of the time I feel like it's like, why is Johnny here? Like in the Fantastic Four, it's like, why did they bring?
Why is he on the rocket? Exactly.
Yeah,
it's always
like,
the question they have to
brother.
answer.
Why does he get to go to space when he doesn't? He has no discernible skills.
Yeah, he won a contest.
And I'm just like, I don't know, him taking like a few months to like use some clues to kind of like work out a language. I'm like, in this world, I can buy that. That to me, like Reed could have probably solved that in a day, but he was busy with other stuff. And I'm like, I can believe Johnny doing it. I don't think that means that Johnny is like the smartest guy on Earth.
I have thoughts on this I'll share later on. But, Matt, to your point, there's one thing that also we didn't get very much of that's a staple in the comics, and that is Ben kind of resenting Reed for turning him into a rock monster. We got a small bit where Reed like acknowledges the accident. He takes responsibility, which he does in the comics. He always feels tremendous guilt over this, but Ben basically is like, it's okay, Stretch, and doesn't seem to mind. And I also thought maybe that was a moment that was a loss, like a wasted moment for character development.
Yeah, I mean that's another good example of kind of smoothing out some of the, no pun intended, rockier elements of the relationship between. Sorry, I'm really sorry.
That's why you have
between
no
the
friends.
characters.
It had to be done.
Yeah,
it had to be done.
But again, like that is, now obviously there's 60 years of Fantastic Four. Not every single one has the thing going, I can't believe you turned me into a rock monster, Slim, or whatever. It's not central. It's not necessary. But yes, they make a point even of bringing that up and having Ben be like, it's not your fault. You can't beat yourself up over this. He's like extremely well adjusted. They throw in a lot of scenes that are very evocative of those classic Lee and Kirby issues where Ben was really grappling with that. He goes to Yancey Street a lot in this movie. He's wandering around, and sometimes it almost feels like they cut out all the parts where he's supposed to be really upset. They have that one very nice shot where he's looking at the video or the TV screen that's showing his human form, and the screen goes off, and you see his Rocky reflection. It's like a classic, beautiful little kind of comic booky moment. I love that. But again, like the whole the notion that he is sort of torn up inside about this is really not present. He seems pretty comfortable. The only thing he doesn't seem to like about being the Thing is that people tell him to say it's clobbering time, which for whatever reason they have made this this kind of very small running gag where I guess it's on the cartoon show of the Fantastic Four, but he himself does not say it. People very rarely want him to say it, and then as you've seen in the trailers, like Johnny really wants him to say it at the end of the movie for reasons that I didn't quite other than the fact that we want to hear the Thing say this. I was like, is this really that big of a deal?
Let me ask you though, you're both huge comic book fans. Like I've taken I'm a comic book fan, and I've gotten recommendations from you guys for Marvel comics I've never heard of. So how much do you think your opinion of the film is influenced by your background as somebody who's read and loves these comics?
This is actually something that I've been thinking about, Ryan, because just like when reading different reviews that came out in the past couple days, seeing some critics who I really like who were more lukewarm on it, and I have been I'm gonna see the movie a second time, and a part of me has been wondering I don't want to just throw doubt at I don't want to say discount my whole opinion of it, but I have been wondering how much of me enjoying it so much is just the relief that to me they got so much of what I was looking for correct about it. Because Fantastic Four, I think, is one of those Marvel comics, kind of like Daredevil, where there's just like more great runs of that title than almost like so many writers and artists seem to like do maybe career best work on this series, and so there are so many Fantastic Four comics that I really, really love, and I felt like, and you know, the thing is, like, this, it's a 2-hour movie. It is short for a Marvel movie, which I think is good. It doesn't seem like it's wasting a bunch of time, like, setting up spin-off movies or tying into other things. And so things like the Thing's lack of, like, internal angst about his condition, I thought about it during the movie, but I'm just like, look, we can't cram every single thing that no pun intended, you know, that these characters ever feel into one movie. And I'm like, look, you know, I can wait for future films for some of these things, but it checked so many of my boxes for what I want from a Fantastic Four movie, and felt like it got like just so many key things right that just like I as a fan really want to see and think need to be in there. That I remember like just through the whole movie I'm sitting there with my friend film critic Siddhant Adlaka, and we keep looking at each other being like, oh my god, it's like they're doing it, they're actually getting it right. These things that we thought they would mess up, they're not messing them up. And so this was a real movie where I was just, it was a little bit hard to turn my comic book fan brain off, because it's just like, it's like when you see, you know, one of your favorite novels adapted, and the whole time you're just thinking about, like, how are they going to handle this thing and this thing and this thing, and to me they got a lot of it really right.
Well, guys, here's the thing. Matt, I have the same question for you. How much was your opinion of the film influenced by your love of the comics?
Well, I mean, look, if you want to say, well, this is its own thing, much like your action figure right there, and it's not fair to compare them. You know, if that's, the argument you want to make, I think that's totally fine and valid. It is its own movie, and we should judge it on its own merits. Now, that said, though, like, a lot of this movie is really leaning heavily on the iconography, the specific references, like shout-outs, callbacks to Fantastic Four comics, and especially the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby comics. And to the point where there's a moment in the film where two men who are definitely supposed to be Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are like working in their little studio, and they look out the window, and the movie is making those comparisons for you. So I don't think it's outrageous to have the comic book in your mind. Like when they do things like they make the Thing look so much like the Jack Kirby Thing, which I love. I love that they really gave, I mean, he is so inspired by the classic with the brow and the whole look of the character. That's stuff I really love. So when the movie is doing that, to me, it's hard to totally separate it. And I hope I'm not coming across like this movie didn't get the Fantastic Four right.
Hashtag not my Fantastic Four.
Right. I'm not really saying that. I guess what I'm really getting at when I'm sort of maybe nitpicking or complaining about some of these things is that as much as I agree that the movie moves pretty quickly, I did feel, especially in the beginning of the movie, that I don't know, I felt like something was missing. Whether it was a little more tension between the characters. For me, the movie didn't really kind of click into place until, Silver Surfer shows up and they have to go into outer space. And then you have this whole sequence where, encountering the Silver Surfer, encountering Galactus, kind of watching them problem solve and, go through this whole sequence where they're trying to escape and they're having to, and as you mentioned, Sue's giving birth and all of this stuff.
An amazing scene.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I was like, that was where I felt like, okay, yeah, they really way more than just putting two guys that are supposed to be Stan Lee and Jack Kirby into the movie or making the thing look like the comics. That was the part where I was like, this feels like a classic Fantastic Four adventure where they're in outer space and they're solving scientific problems and they're encountering space gods and they're yelling at each other, and all of that stuff really worked for me. And so I guess I just wished, like, especially in the beginning and maybe some of the stuff after that, because there's a long stretch between that sequence and the end of the film, that again, also I kind of felt like, well, it's a lot of people like sitting around. It's a lot of the Fantastic Four like sitting around in the Baxter Building and talking about what? Like waiting for Galactus to show up. And, you know, the movie has this kind of really cool beat where Galactus makes an offer to the Fantastic Four in which he'll spare the planet. And it's kind of an almost literal Sophie's Choice kind of situation for the Fantastic Four. And I thought that was great and a really cool kind of add-on to the classic Galactus story. But then how that kind of plays out over the next couple of scenes once they return to Earth, I got to admit, I kind of didn't love the way that kind of evolved. Like, it felt like a really great idea that the execution, I wouldn't call a home run. I don't know that I don't know that I would call it a strikeout, but I don't know that it fully paid off on the potential of that idea that they threw out there.
Well, I'll be honest, there are things about the movie that I also did not care for that I'm going to talk to you guys about right now. But before we sign off, I do have to acknowledge that a few years ago, Mr. Patrik H. Willems did make a video where you outlaid your pitch for the Fantastic Four, and you said they should already be celebrities, and we should open with the news montage and a tour of the Baxter Building. And it was a really good video, and I think Disney owes you some serious money. So if you guys have time, check out that video. And of course, don't forget to read, if you haven't already, Opposable Thumbs, How Siskel and Ebert Changed Movies Forever by Matt Singer. You can find links for everything below. Thanks guys so much. Now I'm going to tell you guys what maybe I didn't like that much about this movie. So first of all, I love that the movie was set in the 1960s, but I wish there had been more of that. You know, apart from the designs and the hairstyles and costumes, the only thing really 60s about this movie was that Americans are capable of optimism. I would have loved to have seen this film embrace that 1960s setting, you know, like X-Men First Class did. And the problem in any team-up movie is, how do you keep everybody busy? So Johnny suddenly becoming a linguist was probably my least favorite part of the film. I mean, like Sue said, Reed could have written an algorithm to decipher the surfer's language in no time flat. But to keep Johnny occupied during the science stuff, he had to be the translator. And this brings me to the Silver Surfer. When they announced that Julia Gardner was the Silver Surfer, dude, I was all in. She is a great actor, and I don't really care if the Silver Surfer is a man or a woman. The character has nothing to do with gender. So, you know, why not make her a woman? But when I watched the movie, I realized the gender swap was actually for two reasons. One, it made the Surfer a mother, so she would be more sympathetic to Sue and Franklin. But the other reason was that Johnny had to have a crush on her, so then he would pursue learning her language.
Johnny loves space, Johnny loves women. Now there's a literal naked space woman, and Johnny thinks they had a moment.
And I don't know, that feels a little bit off to me. Does it feel off to you guys? I mean, the Silver Surfer now has just become the object of Johnny's crush when he could have just been fascinated by the weird silver alien that he made a connection with. Now, I love the idea of casting different races and genders in these iconic roles.
It's about time.
But the core reason for this swap seemed to be that they wanted the Surfer to become the object of a man's desire. Or hey, you know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe Johnny starts off having a crush on her that evolves into more of an intellectual fascination. Anyways, I do admit that that's a nitpick, but it's stuck in my craw. I very much want to see Julia Gardner Silver Surfer have her own movie where she goes up against Galactus or Mephisto.
Not the beast!
Or Terrax. She was a great character who embodied the Surfer's morality from the comics. But what did you guys think about Fantastic Four First Steps? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, or on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.